If you're an inshore angler, at one point or another, you have probably seen or even used the very popular MirrOlure 17MR, or more commonly named the MirrOdine. Now, really, what is there to say about this lure that hasn't already been said? The MirrOdine has been out for over 15 years, and it has straight just been slaying inshore fish since the early 2000s. During the 90s, topwater baits, a lot of hard plugs for surface lures were really popular, and it wasn't until about early 2000s that MirrOlure designed a suspending hard bait that perfectly imitates a whole variety of baitfish, whether it's a pilchard or a threadfin or menhaden, depending on where you're located. And this lure just fishes really well throughout all parts of the Southeast for inshore fishing. And in today's review, we're going to go over the pros of the MirrOlure MirrOdine, the 17MR. We're going to talk about applications, best retrieve styles, and when you might not want to use the MirrOlure 17MR. There's some times that it's not going to fit every situation. And we're going to ask the big question, and that is, why have so many inshore saltwater anglers shifted away from hard baits and over towards soft plastics? And is that the right decision? So to address the elephant in the room, I kind of love MirrOlure MirrOdines. I have used a lot of different colors over the years. They've all caught fish. If anything, I've collected all of them because they're collector's items, because there's so many different varieties of colors. But personally, I really think that there's only a handful of colors, and let's just keep it even simpler, two styles that you should consider to look at if you're interested in adding the MirrOdine to your collection. And one would be kind of the standard coloration, which is, for example, the 17MR 18 color, which is a silver kind of a holographic side with a dark green back, or some of their newer colors and styles that they have called their CI series, and they're kind of like skin prints. So they have them in pilchard, they have them in pinfish and mullet. They have a couple different styles as well, but these CS or CI series are more of a matte finish than a holographic side. So when fishing in super clear water or really calm water scenarios, you may want to opt to go with kind of a matte finish as opposed to dirty water scenarios where, a little bit of a flash is probably going to work to your benefit in that type of environment. So the 17MR comes in right shy of 3 inches in length. It is 5/8 of an ounce, but don't let that fool you because this is a suspending twitch bait. It's not going to plummet down to the bottom like a 5/8 ounce jig head in a soft plastic would. This 17MR is going to be worked perfectly in about 1 to 3 feet of water in a variety of different situations. Like I said, could be grass flats with potholes, could be up underneath mangroves or along the edges of docks for snook. Just a very versatile lure. MirrOlure also makes a couple larger sizes of the same thing. They make a 27MR, that's their XL model, and they also make a 37MR that's a little over 4 inches, and it's their XXL model. And ideally, they're just meant to mimic the same bait forage, just a larger profile and a larger size. So for that reason, I think that the 17MR, the original, is really the go-to for most inshore anglers. It's lightweight, it's easy to cast, easy to retrieve, not a lot of resistance pulled through the water, can work in super shallow water scenarios, and just overall a really good profile for a bait. All of the MirrOdines do come standard with stock treble hooks, and I'm sure as you've noticed, I've changed out a lot of my MirrOdines with single inline replacement hooks. And for me personally, I've just opted to go this route for a couple different reasons. So number one, the stock treble hooks that come with these hard baits are incredibly sharp. They do work well right out the get-go. If you're the type of angler that wants to go out and catch a couple trout, maybe a redfish, take home for dinner, and you just want to keep the standard trebles on there, they are extremely sharp. They do work very well. Totally understand that approach. For me personally, I'm a big catch and release guy, and when I do get a fish next to me, I'm just apprehensive of having 6 points on a hard bait flopping around everywhere in a fish's mouth. I haven't noticed my catch rate decrease by going to single inlines. As long as you work your drag and fight your fish properly, these single inlines are a great alternative, and you still have great hookup ratio, and it's much easier on you and on the fish if you do choose to release them. So I found that the Owner single inline replacements in number 1 or the 1/0 size both work well on the MirrOlure 17MR, and the split rings that come with the 17MR are solid. I've changed them out. These are all the original split rings with single replacement hooks, and I haven't had any issue of these bending or straightening out. Over time, if this does get rusted and you do want to pick up a split ring replacement, I'd recommend going with a number 3 Hyperwire split ring by Owner, or something of a similar size. So in these next couple of clips, I wanted to show some underwater lure performance of the MirrOdine, and I wanted to start with the number 1 thing not to do with the MirrOdine, and that is to work the lure way too quickly. As you can see here, these are very erratic twitches on a steady retrieve back to the boat, and I see a lot of anglers do this. And while this can work, I really think you're missing out on some of the benefits of slowing down your retrieve on a suspending twitch bait. Another method is the steady retrieve back. So this method has worked. Full transparency, I have caught trout trolling in my kayak with this method. Even though it's not a lipped diving plug, you do still get some side-to-side action out of the MirrOdine on a steady retrieve. But again, it's just too quick. The suspending hard twitch baits are really designed to be worked under a more of a twitch pause method. And as you're going to see here in all of these clips, the one major factor about the MirrOdine that makes it so different is how level and how slow this lure descends. It's really the pause that a lot of these fish are keyed in on. And the twitches are really meant to impart added attraction to a hard bait that a hard bait offers that a soft plastic jerk bait, say like an Alabama leprechaun or a Zoom fluke, might not offer. And that's the holographic sides that are on these suspending twitch baits and the rattles that are built into the body. So both of those are added attraction factors that get the fish's attention, and it's the descend or the pause that gets the fish to commit. That's what I think a lot of people need to realize and how this lure works through the water. And one interesting thing, one observation that I found in this demonstration is how you twitch that lure determines how quickly it comes back to you. And by that I mean if you're twitching it to the left or the right, you're going to pull that lure through the water column faster than if you twitch the rod upwards with slack line. And what that will do is cause the lure to twitch up in the water column and then descend straight back down, allowing it to stay in the strike zone for a longer period of time. Very cool observation. Now I have to ask the question, because I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why would I opt to go with a suspending hard twitch bait when I can basically just go with a weedless weighted soft plastic and essentially do the same thing? I mean, some people might argue that suspending hard twitch baits are a dying art. And, these are known for being highly effective tools for catching inshore game fish around a variety of structure. And I will agree, that's true. But here's the thing you need to remember. In those scenarios that you're throwing a soft plastic, whether it's a jerkbait or a paddle tail, and you're fishing around structure, let's say potholes or oysters, for example, those same areas are known for having little critters like pinfish and pufferfish and all kinds of little stuff, and they're going to terrorize your soft plastic until there's nothing left. They're going to bite the tail off. They're going to bite the side of the body off. I know you've been there. I've been there a bunch of times. And before you know it, you would have burned through 4, 5, or even 6 soft plastics and maybe caught 1 game fish. It can be super frustrating. And I will say, even the Z-Man material lures, while they're going to prolong the life of that soft plastic in those type of situations, they're not invulnerable. They will eventually get that tail chopped off, and you're going to have to swap out to another soft plastic lure. So when you're in the zone and you know there's fish that are feeding on a lot of these terrorizing bait fish, you might want to opt to go with a suspending hard twitch bait. You're going to stay in that strike zone. You're going to stay in the same water depth. You're going to mitigate all the issues associated with those little critters that obviously the predators are feeding on. That's why they're there. And you're just going to be able to fish that much more efficiently. Not to mention, those same soft plastics rigged on, whether they're on a weedless weighted hook or on a jig head, they're going to make contact with the bottom much faster than, let's say, a suspending hard bait. And in certain scenarios, staying in the strike zone longer and maintaining a constant depth for longer periods of time might be what you need to get a strike. especially in the winter months when redfish and trout are a little more lethargic and they might prefer a lure presentation with longer pauses in between on the retrieval. All right, so I want to turn the tables real quick and play devil's advocate and just point out some of the cons that the MirrOdine has inherently that you just need to be aware of before buying this type of lure. The first is they do come with standard treble hooks. To some anglers, that might not be much of a concern if you're fishing over sandy areas and not around, let's say, snaggy structure, okay? Like an oyster bar, up underneath mangroves, dock pilings, all the areas that you can work this lure effectively. It's going to snag structure. There's no way around it. Whether you have treble hooks or single inline replacements, it's bound to catch floating grass. It's not going to serve as an ultimate replacement to a weedless weighted soft plastic hook that is more snag resistant than this style of lure. That's not to say that you can't work this type of lure around all that same structure and catch a bunch of fish. It's just you need to be very mindful of the placement and your casts with this lure because it is going to be more prone to snagging all that structure that these fish are hanging around. And another thing to note on this lure is just the hardware. So keeping up with and maintaining a hard bait is essential. And it's the same is true with a weedless weighted hook like an owner twist lock and a soft plastic. If this is exposed to salt water, to the elements, and you do not spray it down and properly maintain it, you're going to blow through this lure pretty quickly. They are prone to rust out if not properly maintained. As you can see here, I've had a MirrOlure MirrOdine, which is a longer, slender version than the MirrOdine. I've had it for probably over 10 years. Yes, I probably could just buy a whole nother plug for $8 or $10, but this lure is special to me. I've caught a bunch of fish on it, and shame on me, due to neglect and improper maintenance, I've spent money on replacing more single inline replacements and split rings to keep this lure ticking and in action, when ultimately you could just have better, best practice management on hand. You could spray down your lure after a day of fishing, let it air dry for 20 to 30 minutes, then place it back in your tackle tray, and this lure will keep on performing like new for a long period of time. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative about the benefits to using a suspending twitch bait such as the MirrOdine, as well as when it might not be the best time to use in all types of inshore scenarios. If you guys want to pick yourself up a pack of the classic 17MR 18 color, which is the dark green back and silver holographic side, this is one of the colors that put the MirrOdine on the map 15 plus years ago. Or you wanted to pick up some of their newer series, like the Sea Eyes. They're more of a skin print pattern with a matte finish, and again, might be a little bit to your advantage in fishing in clear, calm water scenarios without all that holographic flash. Or if you just need to pick up some single inline hooks or split rings or soft plastics, anything that an inshore angler needs, you guys can find all of that over at our online tackle shop, fishstrong.com. And if you're one of our insider members, you guys know that you can earn up to 20% off of everything in this demonstration today. If you guys have used the MirrOlure MirrOdine before with great success or not great success, we want to hear your stories. Please leave a comment down below. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best inshore fishing club in America that teaches you how to catch more redfish, sea trout, snook, and flounder. There is nothing else like it, guys. We literally guarantee that you're going to catch more fish while saving time and money or your money back. We do this with our premium education, an exclusive insider community, and huge discounts on the best tackle for saltwater anglers. So to learn more, head over to saltstrong.com and we will see you in the insider family soon.